This fucking film Seizure. Oh, it's a good movie. Who wouldn't like this movie? You soak it up and you just watch it. Anyway, hey guys, how's it going? I'm just relaxing out by my pool on the Spanish Riviera because I've retired from a life of crime.
Your skin looks like leather, by the way.
Oh, you can make it. You can
make it into a suitcase.
A carry-all, even.
Oh my god, that killed me. Anyway, we are here to talk about a very, very just flat out one of my favorite movies. I think, Sexy Beast. Now, interestingly, this movie is labeled as a 2000 British psychological black comedy crime film. Yeah, that's all. That's mouth. It just rolls right off the tongue, right? But actually, it did not see theater release until 2001. It played at the Toronto International Film Festival in September of 2000. It premiered in the UK in January, and then came here in June, I think, of 2001. Now, what's funny is that I have a lot of memories about this movie, but we'll get into that story here in just a minute. I'm going to introduce my cohorts, my partners in crime, if you will. Chuck Moore, how's it going, Chuck?
Hey, how are you?
Doing great. You gonna call me a cunt all episode?
No, I'm gonna tell you stuff like I'm not into this anymore, Jeff.
All right, so I guess I'm going to call you a cunt then. The whole episode. And also Jason Oliver. Jason.
Hey, yeah, I'm just I wouldn't be any good to you.
Are you hanging out with Jackie Big Tits?
I just wouldn't be any good to you. So
you're gonna be useless.
I'm gonna be useless.
What do you mean useless? This is where you say it's so easy. And look, you can do it. That's why I thought of you. Oh, goddamn. So Jason was there the night that this movie came into my life, which I believe I narrowed down after I did the little bit of like when it was released. I think I narrowed down to the exact date that we saw it, which would have been Friday, July 13th, 2001.
Yeah,
because Jason, why were we there?
Because we wanted to go see Friday the 13th in 3D. Friday the 13th 3D. Yeah.
Yep.
That's what we were there for, and it was sold out.
Yes. So we were at the Castleton Arts General Cinema. I'm wearing my General Cinema shirt in commemoration. Nice. And now imagine this, though. I mean, think about it. How many seats do you think that auditorium had? Because those old auditoriums like stretched out for like 20 rows.
Yeah, I would say it was like a 200, 250 seater.
Yeah, and it was sold out for Friday the 13th.
Dave would tell us. Well, yeah, it was sold out, and I think Dave told us to see this, didn't he? Wasn't it Dave who recommended it?
I said, I've heard good things about this movie. I'm game for it. And everybody else was like, well, we're already here. I guess why not?
No.
And it started like 10 minutes later or something like that.
Yeah.
And it's like, let's just watch this new indie flick that I don't know if I maybe saw like, I don't know, the Ebert episode where you talked about, or if I just saw it like in Nuvo, like a good review or something. But I was like, I've heard some good stuff about this. I don't even know if I even ever saw a trailer for it. And sometimes those are the best movies when you go in completely blind, except for, you know, somebody in it, or you heard a good review or something. And it was you and me, and I think Shannon and James, and our friend Adam may have been there too.
He was there. I remember he was there because he was really bummed about F-13 being sold out.
I bet he really likes Ben Kinglsey.
Yeah. Well, I think he really liked this movie too. We all really liked this
We did. we were like, I mean, I don't know if you guys were feeding off of me.
We were a captive audience. No, we all really liked it. I remember us being pretty raucous coming out of it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think if you knew any more about it, you would have wanted to see it too.
Yeah. I'm sure. Yeah.
Given that it's a lot like, well, not a lot like, but it's in the vein of Lock, Stock, Guy Ritchie.
Mhm.
kind of
Well,
stuff.
I want to talk about that a little bit
Yeah,
because, the British gangster movie is kind of a staple of British cinema, right? It's gone through its ups and downs, and it was definitely in a down period in the kind of early to mid 90s until Lock, Stock kind of came and revived it. And then
But
this movie
I think Lock, Stock probably even got boosted by some of the, I would say even Train Spotting probably helped boost that a little bit.
Yeah,
The gritty,
probably a little
kind
bit.
of the gritty bad people doing.
I would
bad
say
things.
even more Danny Boyle for sure. I mean, Shallow Grave is another
That
one.
was
Right?
the other one I was thinking of. Yeah,
It's not really a gangster movie, but it's definitely like that sort of shady crime movie, right?
Yep.
But then Lock, Stock came out. It kind of like it was it was a massive hit internationally. I mean, and then Snatch came out in 2000 before this as well, and that was an even bigger hit. And then this kind of came out right after those two movies had hit big. It kind of like rode a little bit of that momentum, but it's a very different kind of movie.
Well, here's the interesting thing about this too, is that it probably got it more so. It's not necessarily riding the coattails too much because it was actually filmed in 1999.
Sure. I'm not saying it was influenced
distribution
by it. I'm not saying it was influenced by it, but I'm definitely saying it hit at the right time.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I'm just saying that I'm thinking those two movies that we were talking about, Lock, Stock, and Snatch, allowed this to get distribution.
Sure. Oh, most definitely.
And not just British distribution, but I mean, like it came here, and
sure, yeah. And I mean, if you look at most lists of like the best British gangster movies of all time, all three of these movies fall on that list.
Yep.
I mean,
this one's a well regarded movie. Yeah.
But what's different about this movie is it's sort of like it's like almost like an epilogue to a gangster movie, right? It's it takes place after like all the craziness of these gangsters' lives, right? It's
they're all a bunch of old farts.
Yeah, and it's more about the characters and kind of learning a little bit about who they were by who they are now, right? But that's a little bit of a unreliable narrator, right? Because I have a feeling Gal was probably a pretty decent piece of shit in his day, right? But he's mellowed. He's mellowed quite a bit.
To say about that, because
so you're seeing like a different perspective on the gangster film, and I think that's part of what makes it unique.
Well, and also these people, they are very normal types of people. They may do extraordinary things, but like, I mean, we meet. So Ray Winstone plays our titular sexy beast, and he is the he plays Gal, and he is out of shape. You can tell he's past his prime. He's leathery because he tans all day in the Spanish Riviera. He's kind of a doofus in a sort of a way, because like he's almost aimless because now he's retired, but he's almost gets killed by a falling boulder that comes flying by him into his pool. And then he's talking about how the boulder is going to be removed on Tuesday and the tiles are going to be fixed on Saturday. And even his buddy's like, yeah, right, whatever. That shit ain't going to happen. Like he's kind of getting the piss taken out of him a little bit. The grill, when he's like barbecuing for his little party with his wife and their friends, the grill flames up in his face. He's kind of, he's at least portrayed as kind of a doofus at the beginning.
I think these are all just indications that shit's about to hit the fan.
I thought that too, where it's like, there is a Yeah, because
Your
certainly,
perfect little life
There's a
has-
specter of danger that's
Yes.
approaching. Yes.
Yes.
yeah, because Don Logan, who is
Don Logan is a motherfucking boulder. Yeah.
and
I'd rather
he will-
face
he
the
will-
boulder than him.
well,
yeah.
he will also set their lives on fire. So
right. that
right.
too.
Yeah, no, I would 100% try to stop the boulder coming down the hill than to try to tell Don Logan no. Um, because he'll also initiate with you a Bugs Bunny back and forth of no, yes, no, yes.
He's fucking wild, man.
But anyway, so yeah, but anyway, I mean, there's but you do get the impression that yeah, Gal is a tough guy, or was, I mean, like the way he speaks, he probably isn't going to be a very fun conversationalist unless you were one of his old buddies from the old days. He's he kind of falls back to some of those old things. Like he's at the restaurant that he likes, and he kind of acts like he kind of runs the play. Like, he likes the calamari. By the way, I want that calamari too. He kept talking about, I want that calamari. But like his wife wants to try something. I was like, no, I don't fuck that stuff. It's like, I just want the calamari, and he's almost acting like the Godfather in this place. And you can tell that that's how he's used to carrying himself. Now, when Don Logan comes to town, he cowers from that person, which shows that he really is out of shape. He's out of his league. And
here's something I find interesting, though. It's a lot of these types of movies with the retired gangster, the retired safecracker, the retired bank robber, is they miss it. They want back in, but they calculated the risk and the danger, and they know they need to retire. But there's always something that pulls them back in, but they come in almost willingly, right? This is not the case. Like, Gal is content. He's happy, right?
Yeah. Oh no,
He's
he
happy
talks
in
about
retirement.
about how like, Britain's a shithole, and it's filmed that way later. I like that. Jonathan Glazer he can shoot a movie. But anyway, he talks about how, like, Spain's hot. It's a fucking hot place. It's but that's for him, man. That's where he wants to be. And he pretty much makes it seem like he wants to be wherever his wife is, Dee Dee.
Well, I mean, I would too. He's beautiful.
Sure. I mean,
but he's happy, and that's the point I'm trying to make. It doesn't fall into kind of the normal trope, right? Yeah.
So they're at the they're at the restaurant. He's waiting for his friends. What's the H and Jackie, and they're the other married couple. It almost seems like that they almost live together. Doesn't it seem like that, because they're at Gal's place a lot?
I think they live close to each other.
They certainly live close.
But yeah, they're probably always at each other's houses, right?
And so they meet up for dinner. And at first, Gal thinks that H and Jackie had a fight, because Jackie looks quite upset. And there's a lot of tension. And he thinks that, because he tells H, it's like, come on, let's just have a good time. Whatever was going on, leave it outside. Let's not ruin this. And then you find out that that somebody called Jackie, and it is Don Logan, Ben Kingsley, in one of my favorite performances by anybody ever. There's a job that he wants Gal to do, a heist. And Gal's like, no, I'm retired. I'm just going to tell him that. And H even says, you're not going to be able to tell him that. And it becomes this whole, it shifts the mood of the movie from this guy who's happy to be kind of living a nobody's life in retirement to, oh shit, a crazy man is about to come to the door. Oh, I should mention there's something important that happens before this. He's got a pool boy named Enrique, and he and Enrique, they almost have like a father-son relationship in some ways. And he takes Enrique out to shoot jackrabbits with H. This fucking scene kills me. But because he's like, oh, he's not going to be able to hit anything with that blunderbuss that he's carrying around, and it's like an old flintlock shotgun, basically, or rifle. And of course, he shoots it. It seems like it doesn't. Seems like it doesn't trigger, but then it explodes in his face, and they all just laugh at him. And then H is going to now shoot a jackrabbit, and he's got like one of those pump action type of rifles. And when he pumps it, the whole thing falls apart, and everybody laughs at him. And it's one of those. As I said to you, Jason, this movie gets the biggest laughs out of me from the smallest of things. And that scene means absolutely nothing except for a recurring nightmare that Gal has later about being the hunted jackrabbit.
Well, it means a little more than that.
I agree. Yeah. Go ahead, Chuck.
I was just going to say it sets up the boy with the gun.
Sure.
It sets up Frank or H, excuse me, as completely out of the game. He's no longer a gangster. He's kind of feeble, weak. Right. So it sets up their characters pretty well, I think, for what they do later in the movie.
Absolutely. And it also just shows them as kind of fun people, nice people in a way. Like they're playing, it's like against the type of what you'd expect, right?
Right.
They're giving each other shit, but they're just kind of like, I don't know, very affable, right? You start to like them quite a bit in that scene. I think that's important.
Yeah. And so so now they find out that, Don Logan's coming, and he thinks it's just he's being asked to do a job, but no, he's already on his way. It's kind of one of those classic, the threat has already occurred. Now you have to kind of.
But yeah, they're picking them up tomorrow, basically.
Yeah.
They do a really good job of building the tension of Don before you even see Don. Like you're worried with them. Like this is serious.
Which is funny because Don isn't even the top guy.
In a short amount of time, they have introduced you to these characters, made you like them quite a bit, and then made you worry for them. And the antagonist hasn't even arrived yet.
Right. And he's not even the top dog. He's been hired by somebody else who is supposed to be even scarier. But kind of isn't. Is, but isn't. And he just is in a different way. So next we see, they, as Enrique and his buddies are taking the boulder away, we see that H and Jackie are coming the other way with Don Logan in the car. And it's very tense. Nobody is talking to anybody. Everybody is shifting their eyes around as if, it's like, oh God, what's Don going to do? And
I have a quick question.
Yeah.
I have a quick question. Before Don shows up, there's a scene, with I believe it's before he shows up with Gal and what's Gal's wife's name?
Dee
Dee. Thank you. You hear kind of Gal, maybe he's even on his own at this point. He's talking about no fucking risk, 9 years. My impression is that he went away for 9 years for a job, right?
I agree with that.
Yeah.
Nothing. I don't think it was explicitly said at any point, but is that the impression you guys got? Yeah.
100%.
Okay. Cool.
That he did time. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
And he, because that's the first time he has the nightmare of the rabbit hunting him.
Yeah.
And he wakes up, he finds Dee Dee outside, and she's worried that, Don's going to hurt him.
Right.
She knows that Don's a sociopath, and, he's already decided that Gal's going to do the job. And if Gal says no, then Don's going to literally beat him into doing the job. And And that's what everybody kind of feels. You know, this is that there's going to be no sidestepping this.
It's amazing. Like his presence in the car is completely silent, but like menacing, right?
It's
Well,
thick.
he's
Real
so
thick.
yeah, and he's so alert all the time. He sits up straight.
Yeah. He's like he's almost like a preacher, right? But with how he carries his upper body and his posture, right? Like an old-timey preacher.
Well, I
And,
also when he's sitting around watching telly in his whitey tighties, it seems almost like he's like it's like he's in a religious situation, like he's almost Muslim, in like like he was like he's about to pray, like
But then when he gets out of the car, like he's been perfectly still, right? He hasn't shown any real sense of agitation necessarily. But as soon as he gets out of the car, first thing he says, I'm not going to try to do the accent, but the first thing he says, I got to change my shirt. It's sticking to me. I'm sweating like a cunt. Right? That's the first thing he says. And he is agitated. He's already on edge, and everybody else is on edge. And the audience is now definitely on edge. It's like, this is a guy that just is not fun to be around.
Oh man, when they're sitting around right after that, it's like most uncomfortable.
Yep.
Not the most uncomfortable this movie gets, but it's definitely really uncomfortable.
Right.
No one knows what to say. He's just sitting there still again, right?
Right.
And not with them. He's not even sitting with them necessarily. He's
right.
Posturing kind of.
Yeah. And and then people will talk to him, and like when H talks to him, he responds curt, and he responds very sarcastically, because he asks about his brother. It's like, I don't know, why don't you ask him? It's like, yeah, he's doing fine, whatever. Why don't you ask him? Yeah. And then when Gal says something to him, he talks more warmly to, like, he only wants to deal with Gal. And it's he treats the two men very differently. And it's not until later that he has to basically basically abuse Gal. So
yeah, I mean, H has nothing for him. He has one thing he wants, but he has nothing for him. So
yeah.
And Gal obviously has something he needs, and he will not leave without having.
Right.
And it's like the real him is coming out to H, and the superficial him is what is talking to Gal. It's kind of funny how obvious it is.
Right. Yeah.
It gets a little muddied here with the story. So Don is telling Gal about the job, and that he needs 8 men. He's been tasked to recruit 8 men for this job. He's been recruited. He's essentially like working for the guy even, right? Like Teddy Bass I got a guy who's running the whole show who has got Don to recruit these 8 guys for this specific task, right?
Yeah, Don's almost like he's contracted. Like he's yeah.
And it's interesting because the guy who hires Don, who works for Teddy Bass, says we need 8 guys reliable and with a positive attitude. That's important, that last part, a positive attitude. So it's interesting to me that Don would recruit Gal in the first place.
Yeah, he's going against orders here.
He's going against orders. Exactly. Yeah. Yeah, and I don't understand that. I don't know if that's just me reading into things, but it's interesting. Like, I feel like there's more history between Don and Gal than we're given.
Oh, there is.
There
is because he goes on later when he's berating him and now picking on him for marrying an ex-porn star that he could have had anybody else because all the birds loved him. He was so good looking. He was so well in shape. Now he's just this fat fuck. And basically he's let himself go. And now, so they've known each other for maybe decades.
It almost feels like Gal was even maybe someone that Don saw opportunity or potential or even admired at one point.
Yeah.
and now he's seeing what he's become, and he's disgusted by it.
Yeah.
But he won't give up his pursuit, which is odd. I think
I think that's part of his. I think that
he's
is
just wired that way. He's not gonna
exactly.
he's not
Like,
going to take no for an answer.
He's so zeroed in that, it's like, well, Gal Dove is the only guy I know who will do what I need,
right.
or what this job needs.
Right.
There's also another motivation that we haven't talked about. We'll talk about later.
Oh yeah, I mean,
on why he's there for Gal too. It's not just about Gal.
That makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
So yeah, so the H decides he's going to take the women to dinner. To which Don is like, "Oh, I'm not invited." He's like, "No, you're." "Oh, I mean, yeah, no, of course you are." And he's like, he's just fucking with H hard. And he's like, he goes, "I'm joking. I'm I want to stay here and talk to Gal." Yeah,
yeah,
like,
right.
So,
he doesn't even like let him off the hook. Really, he just it's all the same tone until it's he is always menacing, I guess is what I mean, and just at different volumes.
right because sometimes he's yelling no over and over and over and over.
I mean, there's only one time in this movie where he's not menacing, and that's when he gets the phone call when he's at home, and he almost seems a little meek there.
Because he's answering to his boss.
So that when someone who's shit on will oftentimes go and shit on the people below them because they can't take out they can't take out the true aggravation.
Right.
Yeah.
So and so like he even like he just reaches out and then just hands him money.
No, I'm buying your dinner.
Yeah, it's like, don't be rude. I'm buying your dinner. And H, he doesn't know what to say. Like when they come back from that dinner, he's talking about how nice it was, but how inexpensive it was, and how the waiter liked Dee Dee. And it's just like, shut up, H. You're not helping anything here.
That is what uncomfortable and people in the position of weakness do. They often just talk.
Right.
They just keep talking because they don't know what else to do.
Mouse diarrhea for sure.
Yeah.
But that scene also is quite funny for a very small thing that comes up later. But anyway, so basically they go outside and and Ben Kingsley gets this look on his face, almost like, oh, I can't wait to hear the answer that I expect to hear from Gal. It's like, so, Jackie said I called, right? And he's like, yeah, she did. And she asked you a question, didn't she? And he's like, yeah. It's like, well, what'd she ask? And he's like, he looks excited. He's like, ooh, I'm going to get the answer that I came here for. And then when he says, well, it's like this, Don. And then he's like, oh, it's like this, Don. And it deflates him. And then, but then we hear the story about about what the job actually is.
This is very excellently done in this.
It is so wild.
It's the only way to make like a game of telephone or whatever you want to call this, like relaying of information, not just feel like an exposition dump.
Right.
So it's so well done. It's like you're waiting for the scenes to cut so you can hear and start to anticipate that Don is going to repeat somebody every time. It's cool.
Yeah.
It's fun.
Yeah.
And
but that's how Don is wired. Like he is telling the story verbatim of what he was told. And so we find out that Teddy Bass, Ian McShane, who should be the most intimidating of the bunch, is
in my opinion, he is.
Well, he's
way scarier than Don.
He becomes scarier in a way, but I would rather be in a room with Ian McShane than with Don.
Yeah.
Do you know why? I do want to explain myself though, because Teddy proves that he isn't interested in the conversation. He will just fucking kill you.
Sure.
Don is almost kind of all talk in a way. I mean, he's dangerous. He's violent. I know he's not all talk, but there is like room for negotiation or at least staving him off a little. Teddy,
well,
no,
I think
if he wants you dead,
you,
you're dead.
for me, it's all about context, right?
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, I
'cause-
mean-
'cause, yeah,
I mean,
'cause Don
if I'm
is a
Gal, then yeah, you fear Teddy way more than you fear Don, right?
Yeah.
But Don is like that guy that just always like at the party just always makes everyone uncomfortable. That just like you never know what they're gonna do. They're unpredictable. They're gonna like muck shit up. They're gonna get people in trouble. They're gonna get the cops called on you. They're gonna drive recklessly. They're gonna just do like stupid shit. He's that guy, and I hate that guy.
Yeah, they're
Like,
both
those
terrifying.
are the kind of
Don't get me
people
wrong.
that I just don't want to be around.
Well, I also look at the fact that Don Logan is also essentially invaded their home. Teddy is
It's-
probably never going to show up in Spain, no matter what he says later.
Never know.
Maybe, but I get the impression that he got what he wanted, and yeah, he's not exactly happy with how he got it, but at the same time, I don't think Ian McShane has shown up in Spain.
I don't either because of what I said earlier. If there was something he wanted, he would have done it just then. He
Yeah.
wouldn't wait until later. That is just kind of him, like
Well,
a parting
my
shot.
feeling on it is
Kinda,
and we're already talking about the ending, but my feeling on it is that he's telling Gal, I might need another favor.
That's fair.
That's
Maybe.
what he's,
That's
what he's saying.
possible.
He's
Yeah.
not necessarily gonna show up to do him harm. He's gonna show up to tell him I got a job for you.
He owes him one. Yeah, I get
Yep.
that. I totally
Yep.
get that.
Yeah, but so yeah, I mean
So
he
he's
is-
never out. He can't really feel comfortable that he's out. That's
No.
But
Yeah.
we're at the end of the movie.
All right. Well, so next week we've got yeah. So so we find out what the story is. So Teddy Bass, Ian McShane, went to a porn. He went
to an orgy.
Orgy? Yeah. Oh God, when it's like, yeah, he went to an orgy, and Don got orgy. You know, like he's like asking, but it's like, what? You say orgy? But he just says it just the one word. But anyway, and they keep talking about all the shit that was going on there. Like there was fucking, there was there was sucking, there was all sorts of shit going on. There was, but anyway, he
Did he call it like Caligula at one point or something like that?
no, he said it was like ancient Rome.
like ancient Rome, yeah.
Yeah. It was crazy. It was like ancient Rome. Then he says, so they show that Teddy is like, just kind of hanging out with this topless chick. And she's like, so how's it going? And it's like, yeah, I'm doing all right. It's like, I would hope he's doing all right. And there's a guy sitting behind him who apparently is the president of, or no, he knows something about a bank that is particularly difficult to break into.
He works there.
Yes.
He works at the bank.
He's like the bank manager.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's like the president or something. Yeah.
Yeah.
And he's, and as they say, it's like he knew exactly who Teddy Bass was. He knew what he was getting into. He just wanted to tell Teddy that he has an impenetrable vault. But that doesn't mean that Teddy's vault is impenetrable, because he asks, Harry is this guy's name. So, guys or girls?
Oh yeah.
He says, yes. Oh, yeah. And,
Doesn't mean Teddy's vault is impenetrable.
oh, Teddy's
some
vault
good-
gets penetrated.
That's so good. That's some good innuendo there.
Innuendo in your innuendo.
Yeah.
Wow, that's a double entendre. Entendre.
Yeah. So then we get to see Ian McShane get plowed. That's probably the only time we'll ever see that.
Which is interesting because I mean they set that point that character is not really, you don't know him for the menace that he is, right?
Right.
Which I find fascinating to make a crime boss like that,
Well, it's possible that
bisexual.
he's doing that.
It's interesting.
He's possibly doing that to get the information he wants from Harry.
I would argue he probably is into it, but
I mean,
but yeah, it's a
I think it's a little bit
It's
of
a
both.
power.
It's
It's
a-
a power bottom move.
yeah, and that is definitely
That is a power vault.
bottom. That might be the epitome of power bottoming.
Ian McShane, if there would be anything he is in that situation, would be a fucking power bottom.
Yeah.
That's fucking Lovejoy, god damn it.
It is kind of amazing how like the difference in menace you have between Ian McShane and Ben Kinglsey. When I saw this movie, I didn't know who Ian McShane was. I don't believe I'd seen, or maybe it hadn't even come out yet, Deadwood, which really like made Ian McShane's career in many ways.
And he started popping up everywhere
Yeah.
after that. Yeah.
But talk about a menace. Holy smokes. Like maybe one of the greatest television characters of all time. Swearing Jim. on Deadwood.
Oh, and Denwood. Yeah.
Yep.
He's for sure. This is I didn't say this up front. This is the first time I've seen this movie. Ever. I don't know why it's appropriate to say this now, but it is. So I was well familiar with these characters. I think I didn't Ian McShane. He's been terrifying. He looks terrifying no matter when you see him.
He's fucking
He could be
terrible.
giving me cotton candy and I'd be scared of the man probably.
Take the
But he's
cotton
also
candy.
he's also oddly likable
Totally.
too
Yeah.
in his terrifyingness. Yeah.
Oh yeah. I mean, his character in Deadwood is like what makes it so interesting is how many dimensions there are, not just to
Right.
his vileness, but to his humanity, right?
Yeah,
He hasn't
yeah.
lost all of his humanity. It's still there. It's just really hard to find. And the show makes sure to find it.
Yeah.
What's interesting is in 1974, there's a Sean Connery, Ian McShane movie called The Terrorist, or also Ransom, that William Fox, who plays Harry, was also in.
Interesting.
Interesting.
Another interesting thing about William Fox later, when we get
James
to
Fox
talking about next week.
looked familiar.
Or no, James Fox. Yeah, James. I'm sorry. I had the wrong Fox. This is a different Fox. Anyway, James Fox, we will talk about a little bit later, because he has a kind of a connection to the director of next week's movie.
Professional tease right there, Jeff.
Yep. Oh, I am a professional tease, just like Ian
Yes,
McShane's
you are.
vault. Anyway.
Whoa. Whoa.
Whoa.
Let me into your vault. So what happens next after Lord
Power bottom.
after power bottom, after one vault has been penetrated, Ian
Voldemort.
McShane penetrates the real vault. He puts a very important item in a safety deposit box because he wanted to see just how impenetrable this bank really was. And he just puts a pack of cigarettes in a safety
Yep.
deposit box. That's it. He's only there to just stake the place out.
Do you see that later, right? You don't see. I was trying to figure out that scene, what he put in there, but they don't show it, do
Mhm.
they?
Yeah, they
Yeah,
show it.
They
there's
do
a pack
show
of
it?
cigarettes. Yeah.
Okay.
And
I know they
and
show it
comes
later,
out
but-
later when it floods. Yeah.
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 Yeah. You see it. It might not be clear, but it's like just a square box.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Oh no, I meant to actually write down what the brand was.
But yeah, I immediately recognized it as cigarettes.
Probably Virginia Slims.
Red apples.
Isn't Apple like a famous movie cigarette, or was that a real cigarette?
Red apples that's Tarantino.
Ah,
That's
thank
his
you.
made up
Thank
brand
you.
for cigarettes. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yep.
All right, continue.
Yeah. So basically, so at this point, Teddy wants the best team possible to get into this bank vault, and they have to figure out how they're going to get into the bank vault. And they basically have like 2 days to get there, because it's like on Friday you got to go to the Grosvenor, and that's and your last name is Roundtree, like Smarties
Hello,
and Shaft.
Governor. Yep. Like Smarties.
Smarties and Shaft.
Yeah.
Speaking of Shaft, let's talk about Ian McShane again. Anyway,
Damn.
anyway,
I think you're a little obsessive here, Jeff. Just a little bit.
well, it's
No,
not every
go,
day that
continue.
you. Anyway, okay. So Yeah, and he basically he's not gonna, he's not gonna let Gal turn down the job. Period. But Gal eventually is like, no, just many times over, no, I'm out of it. I'm no good to you. And what do you mean no good? I'm going to be no good. And well, in what way? In every fucking way. I'm going to be no good. And so we think that it's over, sort of. Everybody comes back from dinner. That's when H just can't stop talking about the restaurant and how much the waiter liked Dee Dee. And
well, there's something we need to mention here too, that while they're all at dinner, Don told Gal that he fucked Jackie.
Yes, they had a fling.
Yeah.
And he also punches him.
Yeah.
While they're on the beach.
Yeah, he does.
Starts to show that he can be at least a little bit violent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then he goes, and so Gal and decides he's going to go get drinks for everybody. Dee Dee goes with him. So soon, more and more people show up in the kitchen.
Yeah, it's just him and Jackie, and it's really uncomfortable knowing what you know.
And then he turns to her, and then she just gets up and leaves. And now it's all four of them in the kitchen, and Don just sitting by himself, like in his normal like straight posture, just looking around.
It's one of those. It's one of those weird like movie things where shit happened after that. It had to have. They didn't all just go to bed. That those little things always bother me. Those smash cuts to next day. It's like, but what happened next?
Oh no! What happens next is one of the most memorable things that I remember of this movie.
Well, when he gets him out of bed, but I'm saying like they didn't all like leave the kitchen and go to bed. Like there were pleasantries of some sort.
Well,
that were exchanged.
Don is biding his time because he's going to get a yes out of him, regardless.
Is he?
Well, he explained
in his mind he's going to get a yes,
right? But he does get that yes, just not in the way that he expects, but in almost a defensive way. But we'll get to that. So everybody's in, Gal and Dee Dee go to bed, and
the pep talk.
Ben Kingsley starts talking to himself.
Before that, I love him pissing with his hands on his hips, and then he just turns himself ever so slightly and he pisses on the floor.
He's marking his territory. He's a wild animal.
He's like an animal, but he's restrained by like some sort of like militant training almost, right?
Yeah. It almost looks like he's on strings.
Yeah. It does. It feels like a drill sergeant who's just ready to snap, right?
Yeah. So he pees on the floor a little bit, and then he's looking at himself in the mirror. He's pissed at himself for telling Gal that he had a relationship with Jackie, that he showed weakness in that regard, which does come back to bite him the next day. And then he starts talking to himself about how he doesn't really like what Gal was saying to him. He really doesn't like what Gal's saying to him. And the inner voice we don't hear in response, I feel like kind of basically takes over. And he comes storming into the bedroom and punches a sleeping Gal and basically tells him, it's like, yeah, you're going to do the job.
I'll be downstairs.
Yeah.
Dee Dee is so awesome in this scene, though. Like, she is the real, like, backbone of this family in a lot of ways.
Yeah. And so she yells at him, get out of our bedroom. He's like, I'll be downstairs. And he goes off. And then he wakes up and like later that morning. And this is where you really see that that Gal really is not up for this life. And he's cowering. He looks like a beaten dog. It's shot really well where you don't see the black eye until he turns his head towards Don. Mm-hmm. And he's got to look like he's been battered. I mean, that's And Don is willing to go even further if he has to ensure his employment. So yeah, but anyway, he basically he goes in about how this is when he says like, yeah, you could have had anybody, but you had Dee Dee, and it's like she was a porn star. They have wank off, or what was it?
They meet on Fridays and have wank offs, basically. I think
it was Wanker Wednesdays.
Her fan club, yeah.
Wanker Wednesdays, and they all have circle jerks to watch the old Super 16s of her old movies,
which is so ridiculous. Like,
well, I mean,
he's desperate at this point to try and get a rise out of Gal here. Yeah,
and and he's just denigrating him through his wife. Yeah. Which is about as low as anybody can go by denigrating somebody through their spouse. So but he's like,
and I think at the same time he's tremendously jealous because I think he recognizes that they love each other, and ultimately, again, that's going to be Don's downfall here in a bit. Yep.
Yeah. So he just abruptly stops and is like, "Call me a fucking cab. I got to go." Airport.
Well, it's not abrupt. It's when Gail challenges him on why he's really there.
Yep.
Yeah.
And this is when he brings up, like, you're not here for me. You're here for Jackie.
Yep.
And this royally pisses Don off because we don't know for sure, but I'm pretty sure he's right. Gail was right in what he says. It's like the only reason you're pressing for me is because of her.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was killing two birds with one stone, essentially. Coming here because he knows a guy who could do the job, but it just so happens that he lives right next door to.
And I think that answers my question
Jackie Big Tits.
About the positive attitude. Like, he goes against that character type because, number one, I don't think he thought he'd get resistance. Number two, yes, he wanted to see Jackie, and he doesn't want to be made a fool of in front of Jackie, and that's what's happening now. If Gal doesn't agree to go, he's being made a fool of in front of Jackie, and he can't have that.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Yeah. So yeah, he heads off to the airport. He gets on a plane, and he's smoking a cigarette. And the stewardess comes and says, why, you got to put out the cigarette. And he's like, no, I'm not going to put out the cigarette. He's like, well, we can't take off until you put out the cigarette. It's like, well, that sounds like your problem. And so he's like, nope, I'm not going to put out the cigarette. I'm going to smoke this all the way through. And then he says, then the guy behind him, it's like, why don't you just put out the cigarette? And he's like, oh, well, okay, well, while I cut off your hands and use them as an ashtray. And then he says, well,
Stuff
why
the
don't
cigarette out in your eye?
Yeah, it's like, I'll put the cigarette out if you let me put it out on your eye. To which he then turns around. Yeah.
Is that agreeable?
And the guy just turns away. He's like, no, okay. And so he just
again, he's like just that asshole, right?
Yeah.
Like,
he is unbreakable, or he can't even bend to something. Like, there is no, I mean, like, we talk about like how
that's the kind of guy that would make me uncomfortable on a plane, right? Teddy Bass, you would look at him and be like, yeah, that's probably a bad dude. He's a gangster, but he's not going to fucking like do anything to.
He's not going to call attention.
Flight.
He's not going to call any attention to himself.
So that's what I mean. It's more about the immediate danger with Don.
I am. If I'm in the woods, I'm far more scared of a bear than I am of COVID.
Right. I guess I get where you're going there.
Right.
Again, it's relative to the context. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I'm not going to let that fucking bear maul me. I'll deal with COVID when I'm in that situation. But anyway, they'll both kill you in one way or another. So she gets the other stewards. To which then Ben Kinglsey elbows the guy next to him. It's like, oh, look, here comes the gay brigade. And the guys like come up and they're just about to get him. He's like, all right, fine. I'll just get off the plane, which is what he wanted to do, I think, anyway.
Definitely.
Which presents a problem later
Yep.
But then he leaves the plane, and he's been detained for 5 hours, and he says, "Wow." He talks to the TSA guy, or whatever the guy would be in Spain. He's like, "Hey, have you ever been sexually assaulted?" "Well, I was. When I was putting my suitcase in the overhead compartment, a guy came around and touched my front bottom." Which, by the way, there's a band name called the Front Bottoms. And
What? Wait, what is a front bottom?
Your
Your
dick.
dick.
Okay, that's your front bottom is your dick.
Yes.
Because he didn't
Okay.
want to say, he was trying
I
to
thought
sound.
I thought he groped him from behind, so that was why I was
Well,
confused.
yeah, you got to reach around.
He got- That's amazing. Front bottom. Huh.
Yeah, well, no,
I'm
because,
surprised you've
because
never
this
heard
is-
that before.
If I have, I've never equated it to my Johnson.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah, because he,
Johnson?
because
Johnson.
he's being to your job. What the fuck did you say that for? Why did you just say your dick?
I don't know. I
This
wanted to
is
use
an
another
R-rated
euphemism.
show. Okay.
I wanted to use another euphemism.
Well,
I
next
like it. I
next
like
time say ding ding. Anyway, so
Wanger.
your
Dong. You're not gonna
purple-headed
get this.
warrior.
Wait, that's what Wanger means? Wang doodle?
Anyway, so
That's good stuff.
this is one of our
Front
better
bottom.
episodes. Anyway,
Front bottom. That's so proper. Front bottom.
well, no, but that's the thing. He's a sociopath. He is playing to this guy to get out of the trouble
Oh yeah, I know.
that
I
he's
know.
created.
I know he's doing.
So
that.
he's
Yeah,
so
totally.
he's not going to say my dick, he's not even going to
Right.
use the word penis.
Oh, he's
trying to,
being very reasoned. He's being very calm. Yeah, absolutely.
So anyway, so he's like, well, it's like, I don't want to cause any problems. I'm not going to call the British embassy or anything. I just, I don't want to cause any problems for your airline. Just let me go, basically. And he does. To which then he storms, and I assume he walked all the way back to fucking Dallas, just on a
Probably.
fucking straight path right back to Gal and Dee Dee.
Like through lanes of traffic, probably just like.
Except they show him get out of a car when he gets
They
there.
do.
That's fair. Well, that was only he flagged down that car in the last 10th of a mile.
Or he got in the car just so he could get out of it. It was already.
It was already
Yeah.
sitting there. Now,
I mean, it is sticky. It is pretty hot. He probably at some point was like, "Let's fuck this. I'm getting." In a
Yeah,
car."
I'm sweating like a cunt. Anyway, so he the moment he opens the door, he's fucking yelling like like crazy about about like, oh, you think, because what's funny is he is saying the exact thing. He's asking in a very loud tone the exact same thing that H says to Gal, which is he's going to go back. He's not going to make himself look like an idiot. He's just going to say, I've changed my mind. I don't want him. And he gets out of the car, and in so many words, it's like, oh, you think I'm a fucking idiot, do you? Like almost as if he heard the conversation, and he has lost his fucking mind.
He's stewed the whole walk there.
While he's walking very purposefully. Yeah.
I imagine him walking to and like spraying his piss with his.
Oh
hand
yeah,
on his
he's
head the
marked.
whole way.
He has marked all of Spain as his territory.
Yeah.
That's funny.
So yeah, he and he starts letting off. He's again denigrating Dee Dee. He's talking about having the affair that he had with Jackie. He hits Gal with a bottle, smashes it on his face, and Enrique comes around with the gun to defend essentially his surrogate family.
Yep.
And so which again, menacing as he is, he's like, well, just go ahead and shoot me then. You're gonna shoot me, shoot me. And when the kid doesn't, he's like, all right, I'll just take that then. And he just takes the gun out of Enrique's hand.
Hits him over the head with it.
Yeah, and then hits him, knocks him out. But then Dee Dee comes running out with a fucking shotgun, one that works, by the way.
Yeah.
And then we cut to Friday in rainy ass England.
Yeah, and Gal is checking in at the hotel that he
At the
was told
Grove
to
now.
check into.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's like,
As
oh shit.
I feel like something happened there between that cut. This annoyed me like the earlier scene, Jason, where they just cut away. Something had to happen after. No,
Well,
I'm just joking.
Okay.
I'm making a joke.
All right.
Sorry.
Whew.
That wasn't obvious.
It's like,
Sorry.
whoa, Chuck
like,
just stopped the movie at this point.
Like a
It's
front,
all right.
that's a front bottom moment.
Yeah.
I didn't. I think it's a good joke. I just didn't make it well enough.
No, I mean, you got me. I was like, okay. Like my brain shut down for a second. I was like, oh well.
It's an interesting moment because I think for a minute you contemplate, right? What happened? Did he just take the job? Did it go badly for his family, or does he have to take the job? Because they probably killed him, and that's what we find out. But I do like the ambiguity there, right?
Well, the ambiguity ends the moment that Ian McShane's like, "So, have you heard from Don?"
Right. Yeah, it doesn't last very long.
No.
Yeah.
But he has all the information he needed. So,
do you think it was a kind of a bad plan for Gao to tell them that he talked to him from Heathrow?
Yes. Well,
I think so too.
This is he doesn't know what to do. He's lost his cool essentially.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, when he was in the game, he would have said, "Well, I don't know. I haven't seen him since he left for the airport."
Right.
He had a day and a half to plan this response. So
exactly.
It was definitely a bad plan.
Well, yeah. I mean, he's
harder.
Yeah, but I think that still he's off his game. I think he's. I think he is so far out of the game that he can't.
I think it's more he's scared shitless. He's
definitely scared shitless. And Teddy Bass is no fool.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, because he keeps coming back to ask where's Don.
Yep.
So yeah, so the plan is, and what's funny is that this is the third act that, what's funny is that the first two acts of this movie are so fucking good that I don't even care that much, that I don't care that much for the third act.
Yeah. I mean, the third act is just how things have to.
It has
resolve.
to be how it ends, but at the same time, it's like the third act is not quite that special.
What I like about the third act is Ian McShane.
Yes, because now you see a new menace and the new problem in front of Gal.
Yeah.
But yeah, to say that I don't care that much, I mean, I only mean that in comparison to the first two acts.
Sure. Yeah, because there is kind of like this tension and energy that has to transfer now.
Right.
To
and you got to build
a
up
different character. And that's you lose a little bit of steam there. Yeah.
Right. So you got to build that back up, but it builds up nicely and quickly.
Yeah.
So, and it builds up with, again, the imagery of him eating and the Jackrabbit Man coming up to him.
Yeah.
As represented by Ian McShane, once again saying, "Tell me again what Don said when he called you from Heathrow."
Yeah.
And he's like,
classic. That's classic, like gangster shit. That's like Sopranos kind of stuff, where they don't believe you, so they keep asking you, and they keep wanting to hear the story again, right?
Well, they're listening for the little fuck ups.
Inconsistencies. Yeah. Yes, exactly.
It's poor form by Teddy though, because no matter what happens, he's going to use him for the job.
Right.
So to rattle him before a big job like this makes absolutely no sense.
Well, I think part of it too is trying to figure out what his motives are. To me, I think Teddy Bass has got it figured out, and he's like, he's going to do the job because he has to do the job, and he's going to do the job well.
Right.
He's
I
not,
fuck with that then.
Well, I think he's figuring it out. Okay. Right. I don't think he knows right away. Yeah.
Well,
I don't
and
think I agree with that.
But also remember, he also knows where he's at. So if he runs in the last second, he'll find him and kill him. Yeah. I mean,
that's not what I mean though. What I mean is if you know someone needs to do a very specific job for you and they need to be cool under pressure, you shouldn't rattle them beforehand because they might fuck up. That's what I mean. Not anything about him running or leaving or whatever.
I think he's assessing the situation at every step.
Yeah.
And making judgment. Yep.
Fair.
So,
Fair.
Yeah. So yeah, basically the job is there's a bathhouse next door to the bank that if they drill through the pool in the bathhouse. By the way, you think Ian McShane goes to that bathhouse a lot?
Uh-huh.
Oh yeah. Drops his towel quite frequently.
It's hard to put the little handkerchief in the back pocket when you're not wearing pockets. Anyway, gosh, we really
yeah, put it in your front.
Tie it around your front bottom. It'd be like Steven Tyler's microphone stand. God damn. Okay, we're getting out of hand here. So
we
the royal we. So anyway, so they drill through the pool, which then essentially is going to flood. It's not only going to flood the vault, but it's going to short out the cameras. And they've got to act relatively quickly because they got to do it overnight. And there's a lot to drill through, and you got to get a lot of guys in there to clean the place out.
Yep.
So they do eventually break through relatively quickly because Gal's working his ass off.
Gal even corrects someone who says it's going to take like 7 hours or 7 more hours.
Three or 4 hours. And Ian McShane says, no, that's bullshit. And he's like, no, 2.5 hours.
Tops.
Basically he's running the drill crew.
Yeah.
So they get in, and everybody's like snatching everything from the floating safe deposit boxes. And Gal finds a couple of ruby earrings, and he decides he's going to take that back to his wife. And so after the job is done,
I love the guy who finds the urn, opens
oh
it,
god, yes,
and it just floods the whole room with ashy water. Ugh.
Yeah, and
it was
that's
so
when everyone,
obvious too. I'm like, why is he opening this? Don't open that.
they may have good attitudes, they're not very smart.
No.
So because it's funny because it also almost seems like that's what ends the job.
Yeah,
but that's just a time cut. But anyway, they they're all celebrating at the bar. It's like 4:00 in the morning or something like that. And now Gal has kind of made a mistake. He's carrying around his suitcase.
Yeah.
To which Ian McShane's like, hey, you leaving? You jetting out of here? It's like, where are you off to? It's like, dude, he's on to you. He knows. And he's like, oh, I'll take you to the airport. It's like, oh God, don't do that. Don't get in. Don't accept that. But he can't say no. It's kind of,
can't say no. It's classic.
It's kind of, yeah, it's a Don situation that guy is not going to let him say no.
Nope.
But he says, hey, I gotta stop off someplace here real quick. And do a thing.
Our bottom move complete.
Yep.
Yeah, he shoots Harry right in the face, and then he's like, I'm not fucking around, where is Don? And he ends up driving him to the bus stop to go to the airport. After again, Gal professes his innocence.
Oh, I don't think so.
Well,
they don't actually show us. He says, I don't want to do this anymore, Teddy.
Well,
which
that's
I think
true.
is relenting on pretending that he didn't do something. Maybe not, but I think he tells him.
Teddy says, if I cared, I mean, they both know that each other know whatever they know, right? Whether it's said out loud or not. But he's like, if I gave one little shit about Don.
And then he just stares at him.
And they just stares at him. Yeah.
Yeah.
He pays him for his job. He's like, how much did Don say you'd get off this? Nah, he didn't say. Well, I'm going to give you a tenner.
Yeah. Pays him
gives him 10 pounds.
He's like, all I've got is 20s. You got change.
And he gives him change.
Yeah.
Oh, he's very insistent on the chain. Well,
oh yeah.
insistence with his eyes.
Uh-huh.
Right.
No, I'm not giving you this fucking 20.
Yeah.
Give me a 10, you cunt.
So yeah, and he basically is like, so you live in Spain, huh? That must be nice. Maybe I'll drop by someday.
Yeah.
And then, it ends up Gal goes home.
That's what I was saying earlier about that. That to me is signaling to Gao is like, you're not ever out.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like the Godfather moment. Every time I try to get out,
every time I try to get out, they
don't get
pull me
comfortable.
back in.
Is what he's saying,
Yeah.
Yeah. Go enjoy your semi-retirement.
Right. And he goes,
Yeah.
So we go back to Spain, and
did you even talk about Don actually dying? I don't even think we talked.
oh yeah, no, yeah. So
Well, I guess
basically,
not, yeah.
yeah. I mean,
When does that cut back? It's before they have their conversation in the car.
Oh yeah, it cuts back before the job. Yeah, Dee Dee blew him away.
Yes.
And then they all beat the shit out of him. Everybody got in on that.
Yeah.
And it seems as though H is the one who actually delivers the killing blow.
Well, it's
Well, yeah, because he wouldn't fucking die. Yeah, go ahead.
Right.
Yeah,
Sorry.
it wouldn't die. And Dawn trying to get one last dig in is like, I fucked her. And H says, I fucked you now, haven't I?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
And it gets the kill blow in is what I would imagine.
Yeah. And then they buried him under the first
tile.
The first clue that he was buried under the tiles in the pool is when they're refilling the pool. A pretty beat up looking Enrique is just staring at the two hearts that are at the bottom of the pool.
Yeah, I'd say it's fairly obvious that's what he was for sure. Yeah.
Well, it's definitely, we see that, but at the very end.
I mean, at that point,
right?
It's fairly obvious that's what he is. Yeah.
So, which is awesome because so when we get back to Spain, H is talking about a pill that you can take.
It drops you right back into like this just general affability of these people, right?
Well, yeah, because Jackie's response to this story he's telling about this pill that will keep your hair the exact way it is at that moment is so incredulous, but so funny at the same time.
Yeah.
Because
she's playing along a little bit. Yeah.
Beatles haircuts, and they've had them for 2 years.
And they love it.
They love hairdressers are shitting themselves.
And then she's like, all right, well, dummy, what if you want to get your haircut? What if you don't like your hairstyle anymore? He's like, but there's another pill.
That's when you take the other pill.
And then, but what's interesting is that Don still speaks to Gal. Because he says, I told you would take the job. And he's like, basically like, just shut the fuck up. You're dead. And then we go into the devil's anus, or it might be Ian McShane's, and we find the Jackrabbit man hanging out with Don, who's just smoking a cigarette.
Yeah. The Jackrabbit man kind of confuses me in its use, because the first 2 times I feel like it's the repressed old gal, but then it's used as a representation of Teddy's character. So I'm like, what is it really? Because he's got his sexy beast. He's not the sexy beast anymore. And if he really is the titular character, then that's the sexy beast, like down inside him, right? I think kind of.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, that could. I mean, I always looked at the Jackrabbit as just being danger or death, or something. Because when he sees it, it's when Don is on his way, or when when Ian McShane is coming in to ask him again, because he doesn't see the Jackrabbit until he sees that Don or that Teddy has come into the
only
restaurant.
Refute I'd have. Well, maybe that means the Jackrabbit is just dead and out of the picture, but I would refute that because theoretically no danger is coming when we see it at the end.
I think to me, it's kind of a representation of just his past and the inescapability of his past, right? So in a way, it's a manifestation of who he was, I think is what you were saying, Chuck.
Yeah.
And at the end, he's buried it with Dawn.
Yeah.
Right.
Fair. Yeah. Yep. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I can see it.
Either which way, Don's just hanging out down there with some smokes.
Yeah, he is.
He seems almost kind of like, yeah, I'm down here with you, Jackrabbit man.
Yeah, I mean, it's not really him. It's
Right.
It's Gail's thoughts on him, right?
Yeah. So he's annoyed that he's down there.
Yeah.
So yeah. But yeah, he's, it's like, yeah, you said that, you said I'd take the job, but you're dead now. So fuck off.
Yep.
Basically. Ben Kingsley was nominated for Best Supporting Actor. Super deserved.
Yep.
It is, you forget that he is, you forget that he is Ben Kingsley in this almost.
Like who won that year?
Jim Broadbent.
Yeah, which is funny because the rest of the category are gigantic heavy hitters.
For what movie?
Iris.
Yeah, it's like a movie that no one ever will remember, or a performance no one will remember.
So like we have all these giants, so we'll just pick the guy so we don't.
Yeah.
Who else was nominated?
So Ethan Hawke in Training Day, Ian McKellen as Gandalf, and John Voight as Howard Cosell.
When was he Howard Cosell?
Ollie.
Oh yeah.
So heavy hitters, two former winners, and the quiet guy won.
Is Ethan Hawke a heavy
interesting
hitter?
Well, I mean, I would say that movie.
I'm not saying he's a bad actor.
No, that movie, him and Denzel Washington, that was a pretty tense duo.
Yeah.
Which Denzel Washington won, and probably Ethan Hawke got nominated because of Denzel Washington, because he had to kind of toe the line with him.
I will say that Kingsley performance is one of the most consistent I've seen. Like he is that dude for the.
I would not want to talk to him on set if he's in that. No.
Is he a method actor? I don't know if he is.
I don't know if he is, but I mean,
regardless of whether he is or not, I imagine that there's a certain frame of mind you have to stay in. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Fair. I mean, this is the level of type of character that, like, I mean, we talk about like Heath Ledger having to be in a mindset to play the Joker, so much so that it pretty much haunted him the rest of his life. I suspect it's very similar to that idea.
But it's also kind of like there's not, I guess, a ton of depth to the performance. It's very much a character, right? And it almost seems like it would be fun.
Oh, like, it might have been.
It seems like maybe a type of character that once you kind of lock in on it, it's easy to turn on because because it feels like it would just be a ton of fun to just be that much of a cunt,
Well, to him, everybody else is a cunt.
I do think like the scenes where he's talking to himself had to be incredibly difficult.
Yeah, because he's talking in two different tones. But he did that just earlier when he's talking in two different ways to two people in the same room by just turning his head. And it's I mean, that scene alone, that's the Oscar clip, just him talking to H and then talking to Gal. But the I mean, you talk about being a heavy. This is a heavy.
This movie didn't do well, did it?
I mean,
it did very well critically.
Yeah, it was a small release movie.
I feel like it maybe suffered the name movie, which is appropriate, but also not at all describing what you're going to see.
Yeah, this is the epilogue to the story of the sexy beast that was Gal when he was younger.
Yeah.
No, I mean, it cost a little over $4 million. It made a little over 10 million.
Yeah.
Which isn't bad for a
Searchlight movie.
Yeah. Oh, here we go.
I remember this doing very well on video.
Mm-hmm.
Very well.
I bought it the day it came out on DVD. I still have it over.
Well,
I thought I had the DVD as well. I couldn't find it. I don't know what the hell happened to it.
I know.
Must
So,
have lost it up Ian McShane's arse.
It's next to a pack of cigarettes somewhere.
Here's a funny note under production. Producer Jeremy Thomas later remembered his experience making the film. Sexy Beast was the beginning of a new phase for me of working with first-time filmmakers. Jonathan Glazer was a television commercials director in the UK and a wonderful talent. We were sent this script, which he was attached to, and out came this wonderful film. It was very stimulating having a first-time talent. The dialogue, as you see in the film, is exceptional. I had never read a script like it, and I thought this has got to be made. It was very difficult to get insurance on the film, actually. When the American studio bought the film, their legal department said, you cannot make this. It has something like 300 uses of the word cunt and 400 fucks. But somehow it passed the censorship and got out there. And that's why I love this movie, too.
The word cunt doesn't carry as much weight in Britain.
Yeah.
But I mean, Tarantino got Pulp Fiction out. I mean, I don't see why this would have a problem.
Right.
Absolutely.
Well, I bet if Tarantino's name was attached to it, it wouldn't have had a problem.
Yeah. I do want to say Jonathan Glazer, I don't know if I mentioned this in the episode or just to you guys. He's a wonderful music video director, made some of my favorites ever.
Yeah, he doesn't do much anymore, but yeah, that's how we got to start. Really great stuff.
And this movie has some very interesting shots, vantage points, the way things are
well, just the difference between Spain and England is stark. Like but it's done very subtly,
right?
Because there are times when it's even sunny in England, but it doesn't look the same.
Well, you're in a city versus out in the middle of nowhere.
That's fair, but there were a few times where it looked like they were definitely using a blue filter.
Blue tint.
I will say that Jonathan Glazer, I mean, I don't really like the song, but the video is definitely very, very interesting. The Virtual Insanity video.
Oh yeah,
it's one of my favorite videos ever, and I do like that song.
That's fair. I mean, that's right.
Oh, well, my favorite video of his is
Uncle
Rabbit in Your Headlights. Yeah.
Uncle
featuring Tom York, and incidentally, Uncle did the music for Sexy Beast.
Yep. I like
Shadow, right? Yeah.
He was a member, I think, for a few years in the late 90s. Yeah.
Yeah.
But he had departed, I think, by the time this movie came out.
Yep. Okay.
I like the Karma Police that all mostly looks like one single take. Back and forth.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
Anyway, I talked about these things when I did another Jonathan Glazer episode of Monster Mondays, another wonderfully shot movie, Under the Skin. That's good stuff. So yeah, I talked a little bit about him.
Yeah, he followed this up 4 years later with Birth, which I also like tons. It's probably my favorite Alexander Desplat score. Love it lots. Kind of a weird little movie, but I really enjoy it. And then Under the Skin came almost 10 years later, and then we're still waiting for film number 4 from Mr. Glazer, which I believe was just announced.
Oh,
nice.
Yeah, he's making a movie based on a novel called The Zone of Interest.
Oh, interesting.
Yes,
I bet it'll look good.
Yes, I would agree.
I think it's kind of a heavy topic. I think it's like concentration camp stuff. Yeah.
Ooh, I don't know.
I know.
I'm gonna see it once, just like I did every other movie about concentration camps. I can't watch them.
Ooh, yeah. A Nazi officer falls in love with the woman of the commander of the commander of the Auschwitz concentration camp. That doesn't. Okay, heavy. IMDb, you fucked up. What? So a Nazi officer, Nazi officer falls in love with the woman, probably who's the wife
the camp
of the
commandant's wife. Yeah,
there we go. There it is.
Yep.
There it is. Now, if that's a Secret Ilsa sequel, I'm on board. That's how I like my weirdo Nazi movies. Maybe I'll watch that with Ian McShane some night. Anyway, he might be into it too.
Never know.
You never know. You never know. Yeah. So Chuck, this was a first timer. I assume that you liked it quite a bit.
Hated it. Every single minute of it. No, it's really.
Did it touch your front bottom?
Yeah, touched
my front bottom for sure when we saw it. Yeah.
You touched your front bottom. No, it's good. It's definitely one I would like to revisit again. Steph would probably really like it, and she didn't get the opportunity to watch it with me. So
I mean, it's an easy breezy 88 minutes.
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
Very clear 3-act dealio. Yeah. Very breezy flick.
Yeah. So
I mean, shit, you blink and you're in the third act. It's that breezy.
Yep.
Yeah. So any final thoughts on Sexy Beast? I mean, I guess there is one thing I will add is that there are a few movies like this that kind of hit me in a very interesting or in the right, like at the right time in the right way. This was one. There are a few movies particularly in the late 90s too. One, a couple more recently, like How Much I Took the Drive when we did that for the show a few years ago. And even more recently, the movie Duel that I just saw at the theater, didn't know anything about but the summary. And in 2022, that Duel will be this year's Sexy Beast. I just fell in love with it. It just hit at the right time, the right way. So anyway, if anybody's looking for something, if it's still playing at a theater near you, which it probably isn't because Doctor Strange is probably blowing out everything that's small, they're no longer going to get a screen to show on, I would recommend that one. So anyway, yeah.
What's next week?
Next week, we've been circling the drains on this one for a little while. Don't Look Now. Yeah, so we've got some Donald Sutherland, Julie Christie action, literally, probably, I think. I've always described that scene as being something that almost seems too personal for you to really. I feel more comfortable watching dirty porn.
They both deny it, but
yeah, right.
It's hard to say.
This is funny. So sorry to interrupt there, but I kept thinking whenever you mentioned it that we were doing Don't Look Up.
Oh,
so when you said Donald Sutherland, I'm like, wait, am I thinking of the wrong movie? I was definitely thinking of the wrong movie.
Crusty old Donald Sutherland's going to town on, yeah.
Yep, very different. They're very different movie.
One is not funny at all. And that one is Don't Look Now. So now I did mention that there is a connection between this movie and that. In this week's movie, Sexy Beast, you had James Fox playing Harry. James Fox was in a movie that Nicholas Roeg co-directed that had Mick Jagger in it, that supposedly had Mick Jagger and Keith Richards' wife having real sex on screen too, much like Don't Look Now did. Yep.
Yeah.
And James Fox was the star of that movie. James Fox, after performance, became a evangelical Christian.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Mick Jagger fucked him right into evangelicalism. and then apparently then he must have gotten free of that in time to fuck that right out of Ian McShane. Hey, anyway,
got him.
Got back at it. So anyway, yeah, Don't Look Now. is next week. I'm excited about that one because that's got a lot of stuff going on in it.
Yeah, it
and
does. It
does. It is not a overly pleasant watch, but it is a very interesting movie.
It's do we talk about that? Well, that would be a good double feature with Cronenberg's The Brood. Or I think
Probably.
I think you mentioned that now that I'm thinking of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that is next Wednesday at filmseizure.com. Follow us, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Then you can find out when things are coming out. Also, next Monday is Monster Mondays, as always, episode number 175.
Yowzers.
And it's Scars of Dracula. Get a little more Christopher Lee Dracula action. Good stuff there. So that is also all the same places, filmseizure.com. That's where you can hear that. If you want to, you can subscribe to us at several places where podcasts are found. Yeah, you know, your SoundClouds, your Apple, your Google, Spotify, you know, all of those places. Tune in. Yeah, those types of places. You know. This weekend is a big weekend for B Movie Enema. You guys want to know, you want to hear the bigness that's happening?
Never forget.
Well, that's one thing. But first, on Friday, there's a really good movie that I watched and reviewed in honor of Mother's Day. And it's a little VHS, straight to VHS movie called Mommy, starring Patty McCormick. That's a really good thriller. It actually got praise from a lot of critics, even though it was direct to video. So I have that. So happy Mother's Day to everybody. Here's a killer mom movie. Have fun with that. Then on Saturday, season 3 of B Movie Enema, the series premieres with a really good movie too, The Big Dollhouse. A nice little women in prison flick from Roger Corman. One of the very first New World Pictures releases. I think it was the second New World Pictures. Anyway, awesome movie, good times. So that's bmovieenema.com. That's where all that stuff is found. So do those things, and you'll lead a happier life, I think, if you do that. If you do all of these things I just mentioned. So until next week, when we don't look now, I am Jeff Arbuckle.
I'm Chuck Moore.
I'm Jason Oliver, and you have been listening to Film Seizure. Yeah, cunts.